Thank you, Mrs. Schwartz. So our first panel is addressing the Military Spouse of the Year program. At Military Spouse, and Chris did a great job of describing the evolution of the award to really elicit the best of the best. And if you look at this table to my right in the front, and if you met yesterday or know any of these branch winners, it's certainly underscored by their stories and what they've done. And with 40 Spouses of the Year here, including the branch winners this year, I thought it would be helpful to have some of our MSOY alums, who are also pretty impressive ladies that I'm humbled to sit next to, talk about their own experiences, and then have an opportunity for everyone here to ask them questions. And with that, I'd like to introduce everyone up here. Elle Brown, who's sitting next to me, is our Army Spouse of the Year from 2012. She's a mom to a handsome 6-year-old little boy, elementary school teacher. She's taught in the U.S. and overseas on post. Prior to actually leaving the classroom, or after leaving the classroom, she saw a need for attention to early childhood education, and so she started KinderJam, which focuses on introducing education early on and learning through motion. She also is now a part of the Military Spouse Employment Partnership Program. So she hires military spouses for KinderJam. So thank you for joining us today, Elle. Bianca Strakowski is our 2011 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year. Bianca, I've known since I got to Victory Media, and she is the mother of 3 energetic boys, all mothers of boys up here, who she's taking care of right now by herself while Ron's deployed. She took her own experience and some of the challenges that she found with education to start the Military Spouse Education Initiative to help other spouses to ensure they didn't encounter those same issues. She's done a heck of a lot of work. She's lobbied with congressional members to make positive changes for spouse education. So I just want to really applaud you for all of your efforts, and thanks for joining us. And final panelist is Lori Bell, also a mother of 3 boys, so varsity status in my book. She's an Air Force veteran. She's our 2010 Military Spouse of the Year. She founded the NAMIS, the National Association for Military Moms and Spouses. It's a social network that brings thousands of military moms, service members, and spouses together to connect and support one another. Her signature program on NAMIS is Prosper Where You're Planted Boost Camp, and it provides solutions for attendees to achieve personal goals while managing the nuances and challenges of military life. So Lori, thanks for joining us. So based on the introductions, you can see that I would recommend moving it up. I'm still trying to find the happy spot for the microphone on the table. All of these ladies have some impressive initiatives, and I was curious, Elle, how you decided to start KinderJam and focus on early childhood education.
Well, essentially, my young son, he was a toddler at the time. I'm a teacher by trade. He was displaying developmental delays, and I was taking him to the doctor repeatedly, unsatisfied. They were telling him, well, the stages of development are different from child to child, but being his mother, based on the amount of input I was giving him, there should have been more output. So I designed a program to teach and evaluate him so I could go back to the doctor with anecdotal notes. That later did surface into a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Another military spouse saw me working with Ricky 2, what I was calling Ricky 2's time at the time, and she was like, you should teach a class. So essentially, I started to teach a class on post. The class grew very quickly, and after about a year or so, the ladies who were populating my classes began to PCS. And they were like, if you package KinderJam up, we would love to take it to the next location. So I then saw that there was a need for early childhood education on a military basis. However, my platform started out as early childhood education, parent education, and early childhood intervention. But after I became the MSOY, I started getting an influx of emails about employment. And people were more interested in my taking my skills and turning it into revenue. so that I could improve the quality of life for my family than they were actually about my platform. So the way Chris spoke about engagement, when you engage your spouses who you represent, they will tell you the platform that they want you to address. And because of that, mobile careers for military spouses became my personal and professional mission for my year as Army Spouse of the Year, because we have a lot of spouses who are professionally trained. Some have married their high school sweethearts, and now because of the turn in the military community, there's more of a need for spouses to have some type of income. Like, for instance, in Kinder Jam, we have some spouses who are now experiencing some financial hardship because when the war ended, some of the monies that were coming in because of the deployment, you were getting hazardous duty pay, you were getting tax benefits from being overseas or in Iraq, and those bills are now still the same, but the money that's coming into the house is different. We also have spouses who have service members now because of the downsizing are being discharged, and now they're saying, well, we're going to need two incomes in order to maintain the standard of living that we have. And then we also have a topic that we don't speak a lot about, but divorce. We have a lot of spouses who are now transitioning out of military spousehood in the traditional sense, but they've served for the past 11, 12, 20 plus years, and now they're saying, well, I took Kinder Jam when I was in Germany, and now I'm moving back to my hometown. I would like to do this with my young children because they still have children in the home. So we found that military spouses were looking for something different than what I thought was important, and so I just moved with them.
Bianca, can I turn it over to you on the education side, where you really started that initiative after you were selected as Military Spouse of the Year, and how did you do that?
When I was named Military Spouse of the Year, I wanted to conquer the world. I had 4 goals, and Babette Maxwell, who's not with us today, took me aside, and I encourage you all to find a mentor during your year. And she said, you have to pick one thing and be great at it, and let other people be great at those 3 things. So when opportunities come your way, you know, if the opportunity is a better fit for L. Brown, send it to L. Brown, even though it's exciting and maybe you want to meet Oprah. Maybe the Oprah thing is best for L. Brown and you have to pass. So I decided education was what kept me up at night. It's what kept the wheels turning in my brain. It encouraged me to pull a notebook out at random times in the day because there was something that I wanted to engage in. So chase what keeps you up at night. What makes you want to wake up first thing in the morning and learn about it and speak. Because if you speak on something you're passionate about, people are going to want to listen to you. If you speak about something that your heart is not into or something you're just doing, that's why a lot of people fail at their careers. They picked a wrong career. So they keep going and going until they find that right fit. So during your year, whether you're a past spouse of the year, a current, or a military spouse in your community, think of what it is that drives you, because you will be great at what drives you. And plot out your plan of attack and lean in. I don't know if any of you have read that book. It has become my new Bible in life. Do not be afraid to go after it. The worst thing someone is going to say to you is no. No, we will not hire you. No, we will not meet with you. But the best thing, they might say yes. I have rarely had someone close a door on a meeting. Little old me, Marine wife who came from a 110 people unit when I was elected to be the Spouse of the Year, was getting meetings at the Pentagon with the leadership, got to speak to Mrs. Obama about spouse education challenges. And that is no longer intimidating to me. Don't get complacent about yourself. You deserve these opportunities. You were put in this position for a reason, so do not be scared of going after these people, because all you're going to get is a no. But if you get a yes, that is going to take you to the next level. Your goal is going to go to the next level, and you are going to accomplish some great things on behalf of your peers. I would also encourage you to connect with each other. If there's anything I learned from getting to know the 171 installation winners, a lot of you have very similar goals. So get to know one another. Don't stay insulated in your small group or just your area. join forces. There's a lot of organizations that are working on the similar platforms that you're engaged in. Get to know them. They're touchable. Most organizations have spouses and veterans working for them. They're going to meet with you. They're going to hear you out. And when you come together as a community, if there's anything I learned, and I'm going to embarrass Ashley Broadway for a quick second. Ashley is our Fort Bragg installation winner. And through the wonderful gift of social media, I got to know her group, AMPA, the American Military Partners Association. And it was brought to my attention that a spouse club wasn't allowing her to join. And within days, our community banded together, and we decided we are one voice, we are one people. Nobody is going to turn their back on one of us. And that spouse club overturned that decision. And then spouse clubs around the country started overturning their decision. And so you don't have to be some famous person or a high-level congressional leader to get things done. You guys are going to be the ones getting things done this year, next year, the year after, so that in 10 years, the people who came after us are going to say they made it better for us. They made this challenging life just a little bit easier because they weren't afraid to lean in.
Thanks, Bianca. You talked about joining forces, and through phone conversations, emails, observations, and stories, I've heard a lot of references to the MSOY network. And I know that you've all worked together and through those combined efforts really been able to get things done. And Lori, I was wondering if you'd be able to talk about an example of how you've worked with one of the other members of the MSOY team.
Having a spouse network is invaluable. When I started my organization at NAMIS.org, it was for me. I needed a place to connect. My husband was deploying. I was going to, in 2 weeks, and then I was going to quickly become a single parent of 2 children, And so I needed a place to just connect and be with people who could identify with what I was feeling. Now, I was on a military base, and I lived among spouses. I had friends that were spouses, but it just seemed that, we were just kind of ships passing in the night. Yeah, we were neighbors, and we knew that, but I needed a deeper connection. And so when I started NAMIS.org, it became what I call a support bra, because when life gets tough, we hold you up and together. And so I learned that I needed a support bra. And I found that at NAMIS.org, where now so many are connecting, and my story is now their story, and we're sharing the same thing. And now my MSOY sisters over here, we're all connecting because of whatever that brought us to the table. We have all these resources that bring us to the table and bring us together. We now find common ground. And it's very easy to say we're military spouses, we have neighbors that are spouses, everybody knows a spouse, but there still needs to be a connection made. It's just like, when you go shopping, we're all women, but everybody who shops together might not necessarily connect together. So it's like the linking up of arms. What I've been able to accomplish with some spouses, Bianca is huge on sharing resources and information. She's always divvying out, hey, I heard that, somebody's going to be in town, you should meet with this person, and she'll set up a meeting. And I'm talking now with Karen to work with her organization so that we can become her organization become a charitable partner with NAMIS.org, because the resources are here. And I found that the part of the problem, with our spouse story is that what we don't talk about is, when is it my turn? How many of you have moved and had to leave friends, and your friend had a baby, but the next time you see the child, they're graduating high school? Or you have to pick up and move your career several times, and you're always starting over, and your husband gets to move into a ready-made social circle, but you have to figure it out all over again. Now, most of you in this room, we all have that issue, but the people sitting here know how to overcome it because you're sitting here. Right. That's what makes you different. You're probably part of the 5%, the 2% club, who know how to rise above, and if it's not available, I'm going to make it available. So that's what you all do. That's what we all do. But there are people out there who don't have the voice, who don't have the time, who don't have the know-how. They want it, but they don't know how to go get it. So my passion became prospering where you're planted and helping military spouses create the life they want with the military life they get. Because some of us have professional degrees and some of you have PhDs. But why are we just sitting at home and changing diapers and wiping noses and booties? And while that's a privilege, that is an honor, some of us were made for more than that. We were built for more, and there's more in you. And so that became my passion to pull the more out. And that's what Prospering Where You're Planted came from, just to get you stirred up on the inside, to know that there's more there, there's more to do, and this room is filled with those top percentage of people who are ready to make change, who are ready to cause ripples in our community and get some stuff started. You're making trouble for other people, but it makes good for our community, right? Yeah.
Al, in the establishment of Kinder Jam, did you work with any other MSOYs, or how did you navigate the pivot from?
Ooh, Bianca.
Yes, I kind of
I
thought her
am a
name was-
huge Bianca fan.
Yeah.
One of the things she said at our first meeting, she stood up and she said, if something comes your way that will benefit another person, pass it on. She said those words, and she lives by those words. Bianca connected me with the INC program. So she made a connection for me very early on in my MSOY term, and that connection has been life-changing for my company. We were able to meet investors, we were able to meet mentors. Like, as I speak right now, I have a CFO of a $100 million company scrubbing through my business plan, me, L. Brown, all because this lady right here decided that she was going to not keep that email to herself. It was an email to her. It was a life-changing experience for me. So that's one of the ways that Kinder Jam has benefited.
Thanks, Al.
Can I say one thing
please
with
go
that
ahead.
sharing of information? This is just who Bianca is. I mean, she's just a giver. Please don't be afraid to give. I know so many ladies, and women are the worst or the best at it. If it can't help me, I don't want it to help you. And we sabotage our efforts. Instead of using what is available to us as a team to lift each other up, we rather shove it in the corner. We don't want to give anything to anybody because maybe that'll put you ahead of me just a little bit. And so I really appreciate her example of just giving and giving and giving, because what happens when she does that, it all comes back to her. It always does.
I was wondering if I could ask all three of you what you feel your biggest accomplishment was as the military spouse of the year. I don't know who I should put on the spot first. Maybe Bianca.
I think my biggest accomplishment, so it was really cool to meet Oprah, and it was really cool to touch Prince Harry yesterday. But honestly, and my husband's been deployed for 3 months, so it was an elevated cool. But I think personally, my greatest success, I made myself very accessible. Everywhere I went, my phone number might as well be on every gas station wall around this country, because it is not hard to find me, even with this ridiculous last name that is very hard for people to spell. So if someone comes to me, whether it's joining forces, or when I worked for Blue Star Families, or a spouse or military spouse magazine needs a first sergeant's wife at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, who had a licensing issue, or a sergeant's wife at Camp Pendleton who is a stay-at-home mom and wants to start a home-based business. I literally know spouses every crevice of this entire community. And that is such an honor to, I really, honestly, to my core, feel like I represented 1.1 million spouses. If they wanted to talk to me, even though there was only 24 hours in a day and there are other things going on, I listened to their concerns. I shared their concerns. I tried to help them. And maybe we didn't meet their end goal, but I promise you that nobody ever felt alone. They don't feel alone. They know that there is a support network, and be that person. Be humble. It's very easy And a big tip, don't ever feel like you got here on your own. Don't ever make people think this is just your award. That's not what the Spouse of the Year award program is. You're representing people, whether it's hundreds of people at an installation or Alicia, 1.1 million, that's diverse people of lots of personalities. It is an honor, and treat it like a job, like you would treat a paid job, because not many times in your life are you going to get to be the anything. You're the Spouse of the Year at Fort Bliss, an entire Army installation of people who are going through the hardest challenges of their life. So make yourself accessible so that next year at this time, you can, think of that accomplishment. I know people everywhere in our community, and they continue to inspire me and educate me and make me feel important, but mostly I never feel abandoned. We are never alone. So I would say that was my biggest accomplishment, making sure the people really felt like I was representing them.
Thanks, Bianca. Elle?
I would say that my biggest success has been the relationships that I've built with people who I never would have met before. Not necessarily people who were out of reach, but people who were just like myself, but they were on different installations. I had the privilege of writing an article for Military Spouse magazine. I approached Melissa with an idea saying I want to honestly share about some of the things that had happened in my life that had gotten me here, because I'm really almost, like Ms. Susie said, an anti-spouse. I was a professional woman who fell in love with someone who happened to be in the military. And I had a bit of a transition. And I decided to share that story because through my journey with Kinder Jam, I was realizing that there were more women who were just like me. And from that article, I got an influx of emails and relationships that were built and engagement that happened and people that I was actually able to share and inspire. So I will say the thing that I've taken away most as a success is engagement. Being able to share and being able to have relationships where we continue to build things with like-minded people.
Thanks, Elle. Lori?
I would have to say my answer is similar. My biggest accomplishment is actually, it's going to sound weird, but becoming a military spouse. I'm a veteran. I served 10 years. I was an officer with troops, so I knew what the spouse was about, honey. Okay, so I had a troop whose spouse showed up at the job raising hell over this, that, and the other. So I knew the spouse. So when I got out of the military, I rejected that term. I didn't want to be that, not a military spouse. I'm a veteran. I served, and I had to relinquish my title, and I had to lay down some responsibilities and now become somebody with a sponsor. And they would come, I'd go to personnel and they say, who's your sponsor? And to me, that was like asking, well, who's your daddy? And I did not like that. Like, who is your daddy? And my husband would go, yeah, who is your daddy? Okay. So my greatest accomplishment, putting on this title, I thought in the beginning was very glamorous and it was fun, and suddenly I was a celebrity. But as I got to know us, and I realized that we had challenges, we have joys and successes, and we have spouses who truly adore being who they are and doing what they do. And now representing this giant pool of people who now have a voice, it really changed my world. It changed my perspective. It had me embrace not just being the title of military spouse, but knowing what that meant now. Everybody's not the same. Everybody's not that spouse who showed up on the job, but we all have the same kinds of challenges, the same kinds of issues, and also we celebrate together. And so it made me love who we are. It made me love you more, and it made me look at you differently. And now we're all one. That just felt so right to me. And that all came to with this award.
Thanks, Lori. I'd like to open it up for any questions that the audience may have. We probably have time for 3 questions or so. Does anyone? Go ahead and.
How do you go about starting up a program that may not have any existing stuff prior to, like, if there's a need for the children or whatever it may be, if there's something that there's not a program existing, how do you begin that? How do you start to do that?
I'm gonna. The question was, how do you get started, initiate a program that does not have any resources after you identify a need for it? Do you have anyone you want to direct it to, or maybe
Anybody?
L?
Elle wants to
Sorry.
answer.
Yes, I want to answer that because I just went to an Inc. GrowCo event, and Sir Richard Branson gave a wonderful interview. And he said he owns over 400 companies right now. And he said, screw it, just do it. If something is not right, you'll fix it in the plan. Kinder Jam was a very organic experience. I was not looking to start a business, and I'm still scrubbing through some of the things that, weren't working just right because I didn't start out with a business plan. But what people will see, they will see your traction. They will see the amount of coverage you've made over the time through your passion, and you'll be surprised how many people will join in, and just because of your sheer passion and your belief, they'll help you do it. So screw it, just do it.
Vision attracts resources. You tell people this is what you want, this is what we need. It attracts resources. You don't have to go looking for it. You tell everybody who will listen. Yeah.
Is there another question? No? Do you guys have a list of any do's or maybe don'ts?
I do. I'll well, the first do's when you leave here today, get business cards and figure out what your elevator speech is, because you never know who you're going to get to talk to and have something captivating to say, because you're going to lose their attention after a couple of seconds. Do connect with the people when you go back home. Find everybody and anyone. Go speak at your spouse clubs. Reach out to your installation commander. Reach out to your PAOs. Reach out to your base newspaper. Let them know what your one thing is going to be. Because that's what they want to hear. If you're all over the place, like, oh, I just want to be a spouse of the year and, pageantry gal and tell everybody I'm a spouse of the year, nobody cares about that. If you want to work on mental health, if you want to work on spouse employment, spouse education, whatever your one thing's going to be, get your idea together and then approach those people. Don't be controversial. Jeremy said it best, and he's actually the king of controversial.
Yes.
He said, you can bring up an issue, but still be respectful. Remember, you are representing people who have diverse opinions. Mm-hmm. You are representing a company with sponsors who, if we didn't have those sponsors, this award program cannot exist. Right. So you cannot go out and bash our president or your congressional leaders. You can disagree with policies in a productive manner that they will actually sit and still listen to you, but you're not going to burn that bridge. So build bridges, don't burn them. Let your ideas be crafted by the people. If you are stationed at, I don't even know any Air Force names off the top of my head, but let's say you're at an Air Force base, put together a town hall meeting. Find out what they want you to work on that year. Make sure they have your contact information. This is going to be as big or as small as you want it to be. This can be a real elected position, or it could be you get to do some photo ops and media interviews once in a while. So make it something great, because then the next year people are going to have even. Yesterday, I was so proud. At the White House tea, the First Lady had our branch winners stand up, and they hadn't done that in the past. And they said their names, and they introduced them to this room of female veterans and Gold Star moms and the most amazing people of our community. And that is an evolution from what they did for us last year. Joining Forces actually talks to us now. The First Lady's office talks to us. That's a huge honor and a step up. So every year we are progressing, but it's only going to happen if you make it what it's really supposed to be, a representative of your installation branch, overall, whatever.
Do you have anything to add?
I do. And be all-inclusive. Like, I'm Army Spouse of the Year, but I don't limit myself to just Army spouses. You'll be amazed where your resources will come from. So although you may represent a branch or you may represent an installation, you represent more so a diverse population of women who are real go-getters, and if you make yourself available to them, you'll be surprised. You mightn't be surprised, you might already know, but they will stand behind you and push you forward, and you just have to go out there and just be inclusive, include all branches, all installations.
I have one. Oh, I can do it? Okay. Watch what you're putting on social media. You are now representing some people. Stop cussing people out on Facebook and Twitter. And I remember when I was a 2010 Spouse of the Year, and I was on an NBC, what was it? It was NBC Nightly News. And at the time, there was an NBC show on the air that sucked. And I can't remember the name of it right now. And I started to put a status on it about this show that was horrible. Have you guys seen this NBC show? It sucked. And I thought about that, and I went, you know, I never imagined that I would be on NBC Nightly News. Who is following me? Why would I bash this show on NBC? I might actually get to meet Brian Williams again, or you know, or at all. Mm-hmm. And so while that sounds weird and out there, you don't know who your friends are. I've met people here, we're Facebook friends, and I've never seen them. But so just watch what you're saying on Facebook and your languaging. You now have a crowd of people watching you and wondering, do they want to do what you're doing?
Thanks so much, Lori.
She had a question over there.
Yeah, please.
You didn't have to give me a microphone. I just have a question. I'm in Jacksonville at the Mayport base, so we're kind of a smaller base, and we kind of get overshadowed by NAS and Kings Bay. So when I said, oh, I'm Military Spouse of the Year, everyone was like, what? So who do you recommend that we get in contact with to kind of shine a light on it? Because nobody contacts you about it.
Right.
And it's kind of like they have no idea what you're even talking about. Like my husband's command didn't even know what was going on until after it happened. So I'm just curious how to get the word out about that.
My suggestion would be to sit down and think out what is going to be the meat of your Spouse of the Year title. So, you know, what's your platform going to be? Because if you just go to Commander so-and-so who's dealing with increase in suicide, downsizing force, spouses complaining to him, and say, oh, I'm a Spouse of the Year, recognize me. He's going to say, I am so busy with things, this is unimportant. But if you say, I am so-and-so Spouse of the Year, and this year I'm interested in working on communication within our base because we're a small base and bringing more resources here. Like you have an exact thing, something, you're not wasting his time. You have it's called the ask a lot with Congress. Get to the point with them. I met with Representative Bishop one time, and I was completely amateur hour to meeting with congressional leaders, and I bugged this man for about an hour going on about, oh, and I had to move college to college, and I lost credits, and his guy pulled me aside, and he schooled me on, when you get in front of these people, you have to get to the point of what you, because they have a lot of things going on. So I would reach out to your installation commander. I would reach out to the FRG leaders within the group. I have business cards with me, and I am opening the door that if any of you want help bridging the gap to your leadership, I will do that for you. The spouse clubs, that's an easy thing to find out about, but make sure they know you're present. It is not hard. I came from a recruiting unit. No one cares about recruiting because you're not deploying. And I made sure they cared about it. I brought attention to it. So installation leaders, FRGs, spouse clubs, and just be all over town with your business cards.
Kate, if I could just say a few things too. It's the base level Spouses of the Year is a new thing this year. So one of the things that we would encourage you to do is to contact your local base public affairs officer, and we've done that from our level. But we've got 2 people that work in PR for us, and there's 170 base winners. So we can provide you with a press release that you can take to your local public affairs office. They can choose to do with it whatever they choose, right? That's up to them. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to contact your local base newspaper and let them know. And I would tell you that they would probably be very interested in having you provide local content or local editorial feedback, commentary on issues. You've now got a title, and I mentioned earlier in my comments, it's not an official, we're not the Department of Defense. This is not a DOD title, but it is a title that you've been recognized, and you go there with the authority of the people who elected you. And I would say that in terms of Bianca, say build bridges, don't burn them. Go and tell people who you are, and that's one of the tools that we want to be able to give you, things like press releases, and encourage you to go to your base newspaper and to your base public affairs office.
Thanks. I really want to just thank Lori, Bianca, and Elle for coming here today and being on the panel. They're terrific. They're unbelievable leaders, and they're great mentors. So thanks for sharing your advice and insight.